Hey everyone, so today in this video we're going to look at lesson 13.4, which is use models to compare fractions with the same numerator. So we've looked at ones with the same denominator before, so the same bottom number. But today we're going to look at the ones fractions that have the same top number, which is the numerator. And our I can statement is I can compare fractions that refer to the same whole and have the same numerator by comparing their denominators. So looking at the top number is like the number we're focusing on because right here it says same numerator, using it to compare. But then after we find fractions and look at fractions with the same numerator, we'll look at their denominators to decide which one is the largest. So we will be looking at like both the top number and the bottom number, the numerator and the denominator, but focusing on fractions with the same numerator in this one. So we're basically still looking at the whole fraction anyway, but it's just another way to look at and compare fractions. So our solve and share starts with Carrie and Alan had the same amount of vegetables to eat. Carrie ate 1/4 of her vegetables. Alan ate 1/3 of his vegetables. Who ate more vegetables? Solve the problem any way you choose. Explain how you decided. So here it says be precise. Use pictures, words, and symbols to represent and compare fractions in different ways. Show your work in the space below. And when we usually talk about using models, which is what like the base, like which is what this lesson is on, is using models to compare the fractions. I think of like drawing, or if I had cubes or something else in front of me, that's what I would use. So for this, I'm going to show you two different ways that you could have a drawing for this. So if this is one whole, I'm going to draw another one underneath and another one. So they're all basically like about the same size. And then Carrie ate 1/4. So in hers, there's going to be 4 sections, and she ate one of them. So this is Carrie, and then this is Alan. And in Alan, he ate 1/3, which means there's going to be 3. Not a super straight line, but it's okay. And then I'll like kind of color this one in. So he ate 1/3 and she ate 1/4. So what is worth more, 1/4 or 1/3? So basically, when we're looking at this, which one takes up more space? One piece out of 4 pieces or one piece out of 3 pieces? One piece out of 3 pieces takes up more space. There's more in it. So 1/3 is greater than 1/4. 1/4 is less than 1/3. And another way you can look at this, if you wanted to pretend that maybe they were eating it on a plate, drawing 2 circle-ish shapes. Sorry, these aren't my best. And breaking one of them into fourths and like one into thirds. Thirds aren't like the best. Like they're definitely not even. Sorry, I'm not the best at like drawing these. Just like freehand, I like to plan them out a little bit more. But anyway, there's 3 pieces here, 4 pieces here. Coloring in, squiggling in one of these, and squiggling in one of these. This is represented 1/4, which is Carrie's, and this is 1/3. And even though it's a different shape, I used a rectangle here and a circle here and broke them into different parts and sections. I can still see that 1/3 is greater. Down here, it says if Carrie ate 2/4 of her vegetables and Alan ate 2/3 of his vegetables, would your answer change? Use reasoning about the size of the fractions to explain. So I'm just going to go in with a different color up here. So if she ate 2/4, so it would be this one and then this one. That's 2/4 for her, and then Alan is 2/3. So would my reasoning change that Alan was the one to eat more of his vegetables? No, The only thing in my explanation that would have been different would be the numbers that I've used. And this is similar to other problems we've looked at before, especially when it comes to our solve and share and the look back section. It's just that he would still eat the same amount, but it would be that then 2/4 is less than 2/3. So just looking at it like that, that's the only thing I would change. Using the reasonings of the size of fractions to explain, 2 1/3 sections is more than 2 1/4 sections if using the size of fractions. And up here, it says explain how you decided, and I realized I didn't do that. I decided to draw because I kind of explained, but I decided to draw because I thought it would be the best way to give my reasoning and be able to break apart shapes into the correct size sections that I wanted to use. Okay, I am going to clear the page, so pause it if you need to. And if you did a different drawing for this, that's fine. For the essential question on this page, it says, how can you compare fractions with the same numerator? So again, the same top number is what this lesson is what we're focusing on. So here it says 2 scarves are the same size. One scarf is 5/6 orange, and the other scarf is 5/8 orange. Which is less, 5/6 or 5/8? So here they show you the one that's 5/6. So imagine this being cut into, like, split into 6 pieces, and then this being cut into 8 pieces. Which one would have been more? So here they show you like what you show. So what's shown here and why you can use fraction strips. It says use fraction strips to reason about the size of 5/6 compared to the size of 5/8. And here we can see that 5/6 is more than 5/8. And then here to what you can write, justify the comparison using symbols or words. So this is the one that is given you just using symbols, and 5/8 is less than 5/6 is using just words. Here it says if two fractions have the same numerator, top number, the fraction with the greater denominator, bottom number, is less than the other fraction. You can compare fractions that have the same numerator by reasoning about their size. Another way to look at this is 1/6 is already closer to 1 whole. Like I just need one more of these because there's already 5, and we know that 6/6, 6/6 is equal to 1 whole. So whichever fraction is closer to becoming its whole. So if it was like, what's bigger, 4/5 or 2 sevenths, for example. Sorry, I don't know why it took so long to pick a denominator for that one. 4/5 is bigger. Why? Because I only need one more to make it 5/5, to make it a whole. So again, this one would be the one that would be closer to the whole. So that's just like another way to think about it. I don't know if that's helpful for you or not, but I just wanted to throw it out there that whichever one is closer to becoming a whole fraction, so same numerator, same denominator, like matching numbers on top and bottom, is always going to be the bigger one. For our bottom section down here, it says Julia. So hi, Julia. I feel like your name's been mentioned before in these, but just shout it out again. Julia says 1/8 is greater than 1/4 because 8 is greater than 4. Is she correct? So for this, no. Because like if it's saying that 1 out of 8 pieces is more than 1 out of 4 pieces, and like the fourth pieces are bigger, so it's automatically going to take up more space. So no, because if she has 2 holes that are the same size, and then like I said, and she cuts them into 4 equal parts, and then another one into 8 equal parts, like the 1/8 pieces are smaller. Like you can already see how little these 1/8 pieces are here. So no, she's not correct. The 1/4 pieces would be bigger and take up more space than the 1/8 pieces. Okay, and moving on to our last page. So for the guided practice, number 1, it says, how can fraction strips help you reason about the size to find whether 4/6 or 4/8 of the same whole is greater? So a sample answer for this, so this just means that like it doesn't have to match the answer exactly, and maybe you have a different answer that I will read when I check your work. So it says each 1/6 strip is longer than each 1/8 strip. So the 1/6 strips are bigger. Um, so like if you have them in six, there are fewer pieces than if you have them in eighths. So if you have all the little eighth strips like lined up, they are going to take up less space than the six sixth strips that you'll line up as well. Um, so, and if you also look like again what we were talking about, 4/6 is closer to becoming a whole than 4/8 is. Like 4/6 is 2 away from becoming 6/6. 4/8 is 4 away from becoming 8/8. So you can, and if you wanted to draw the fraction strips here as well as part of your answer, that's totally fine. Which is what we're actually going to do in number 2. So I'll get a marker, pen. So which is greater, 1/4 or 1/6? Draw fraction strips to complete the diagram and answer the question. So for this, all I have to do is draw my 1/4, which is this one. Can't wait. There we go. And then I would draw my 1/6 piece. And I could have used different colors for this as I'm realizing that as I'm saying it now, but that's okay. So what's greater? 1/4 is greater. So to use symbols, 1/4 is greater than 1/6. Okay, moving on to 3 and 4. You just have to look at the fraction strips they already give you and pick the correct symbol. So for this, what's greater? 3 of the 1/6 or 3 of the 1/3? And automatically 3/3, that's my 1 whole. And I know that's always going to be the greater one. That's always going to be my first option. Next, what's greater? 4/6 strips. So this guy right here on the right, or 1/8 strips, this one over here. I know that 4/6 is greater. The way I would read it is 4/8 is less than 4/6. Okay, pause it if you need to. I am going to erase. Okay, and last but not least, 5 and 6, and then we will move on through 7 through 14. It's the same, like all you have to do is put the symbol and compare them for these, but like this 5, they give you drawings, and 6 to complete the drawings and add to them to help you solve. So just for number 5, what's bigger? 2/4, so 2 of these, or 2/3. 2/3 is greater. For number 1, they're comparing 4/4 and 4/6. So you have to fill in the cubes, strips, pieces. I realize I probably could have made those smaller. And then these are not all like the same size, but they're pretty close. So these are my 1/4, and this is my 1/6. And yes, I drew in all of them just to show you like that's how much takes up the entire space. And I'm just going to go in and color over them to fill in what I need. So for the top one, it is 4/4, so it's this entire, all these pieces. You can see the dark purple still underneath, so that's okay. It's a lighter color. And then 4/6, so it would just be to here. What takes up more space? 4/4, so 4/4 is greater. I'm just going to fill in the symbols for the rest of these. What's greater? 2/3 or 2/2, 2/2. 4/8 or 4/8, those are equal. 5/6 or 5/8, 5/6. 1/4 or 1/3, 1/3. Moving on to the bottom, 1/3 or 1/6, 1/3. 4/6 or 4/6 equal. 1/8 or 1/2, 1/2 is greater. And last but not least, 2/6 or 2/3, 2/3. So for those, just for example, and it's also if you have your paper fraction strips or the online version. I don't remember if I included those or not with on the assignment, but if I didn't, I will include them for the next day. So hopefully you've made it through this video. Hopefully it makes more sense now if it didn't before. And obviously let me know that you watched this so you can get your points. And that's all. Okay. Bye, guys.